Hi everyone, I'm back again. This time I'm doing a Synastry chart with another music couple. By request, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie. And this chart is really interesting because I didn't expect to find all of the aspects and energies that I did. I don't even think these two like each other, to be honest with you. I mean, they got together and there was a strong sexual connection, but over time, this just resulted in one big revenge fest. So I'm going to get started. Her Psyche and Astarte conjuncts his IC 1 degree. And the IC is at the bottom of the chart on the cusp of the fourth house, which rules the home and the family. So in this case, she brought him a lot of soul, but there was also a lot of arguments involved behind the scenes between the two of them. Her Pholus conjuncts his Zeus and Eros 1 degree. Pholus is like an explosion. It magnifies the energies of whatever it touches. So in this case, Zeus, obviously, he's in a band. He's got musical talent. He plays a guitar. So he's had a lot of women on the side while he was seeing her, because her Pholus conjuncting his Zeus, that's a guaranteed cheating aspect. And it's also conjuncting his Eros, and that has to do with eroticism. So she brought this erotic nature out of him, and there was sexual, very strong sexual chemistry. Her Medusa and Chiron conjuncts his Venus and Fama. Chiron has to do with pain, more than likely. Yes, there can be healing, and I've talked about Chiron so many times before. But in this case, she brought him a lot of pain because it's touching his Venus, which is a love planet, and it's also conjuncting his Fama asteroid that has to do with fame. So she brought him a lot of pain in the love department, and through the fame associated with these two together. And her Medusa is conjuncting his Venus. So if you're familiar with the story of Medusa, then you know how she lured men into her trap, and then she turned them into stone. And she had very bewitching sort of qualities. And there's more indications of this as I move forward. Her Dejanira conjuncts his vertex 2 degrees. And the vertex is a very important point in the Synastry chart as well. And Dejanira has to do with victimhood. So she brought victimhood into this relationship. Now, I just went over these aspects, and starting out, it looks like she is the not nice person in this relationship, but he is just as bad as she is. And I have to say, both of them together created a huge, lots of resentment and desire to punish the other person and revenge. And as I move along, you'll get the whole picture. His Megira, rock and roll, Clytia, and Mad Hatter conjuncts her descendant 2 degrees. And the descendant is a very important angle in a Synastry chart as well. Megira is one of the 3 Furies, and she would travel around with Tisiphone and Aletko, and they were had this desire to punish people and find people that had wronged other people, either through serious crimes. Now, Megira, her function was she had lots of anger and resentment. And that's what he brought into this relationship, as well as rock and roll, because rock and roll asteroids conjuncting her descendant, and Clytia. And that has to do with resentfulness, not feeling appreciated, rejection. And Mad Hatter has to do with drama and craziness. So all of these energies conjuncting her descendant, this dynamic is it's toxic. I mean, there's just drama and the craziness of Mad Hatter, projection of the dissension between the two of them, and there's other people involved. It's just crazy. Lots of drama involved here. Her Delilah, Erato, Sappho, and Bilk conjuncts his moon 2 degrees. Whatever touches your moon from the other person, be prepared. Because if it's not good, you're going to feel it deeply. It's going to affect you very strongly emotionally. So, her Delilah, that has to do with backstabbing. And Erato has to do with music. Sappho has to do with highbrow eroticism and sexiness. And the highbrow part is actually has to do with the arts and music. So this all makes sense to me. And Bilk has to do with taking advantage of someone. So when you have all of these asteroids conjuncting his moon, he felt this very strongly. There was backstabbing involved by her. I don't know exactly what it was. One of my viewers had briefly said something about the relationship, and I can't find the comment anymore. So if you are a really big Fleetwood Mac fan and know about all of the backstories involved with these two, let me know. But there's backstabbing involved here in the music industry towards him. But let me go back to the Bilk. Bilk is an asteroid, like I said, that has to do with taking advantage of someone. More often, when someone's Bilk is conjuncting another person's sun, they will take advantage of them financially. Now, in this case, her Bilk is conjuncting his moon. So it's possible that she took advantage of him financially, but in this case, I would surmise that she took advantage of him emotionally. His Jupiter, Blewett, and Sphinx conjuncts her midheaven and Chryseis, 0 degrees. More indications of revenge and mysteries revolving around these two, because his Jupiter conjuncting her midheaven, this means that he brought her there was fortune and good luck involved in this relationship, and the midheaven has to do with the career. Also, Blewett is conjuncting her midheaven, so he blew it in some way. It's out in the open, but no one really knows exactly what went on behind the scenes with these two, because it seems like a mystery in some way, and that has to do with his Sphinx is also conjuncting her midheaven, and his Jupiter's conjuncting her Chryseis. That has to do with retribution and revenge. So a lot of this played out in the public arena between the two of them that coincided with the relationship they had with the band. Now, his Pholus conjuncts her Medea, 1 degree. Again, revenge. An explosion of revenge from her towards him. Her Neptune, Prey, Hermione conjuncts his Sun and Mercury. Okay, this is very interesting. I'm going to break this down, but I'm going to start with the planets first, because this is very important. Her Neptune conjuncts his Sun and also conjuncts his Mercury. So there's this fog going on. You can't really see this person correctly. It's like looking through rose-colored glasses or a dirty window when you have a relationship, a very strong Neptunian relationship with someone. And in this case, since her Neptune is conjuncting his Mercury, lies. What's that song? Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. I think that explains perfectly how the song was written, because Neptune conjuncting Mercury, lies. The lies will be told, and there's gaslighting involved as well. Also, her Prey and Hermione conjuncts his Sun and Mercury. So she preyed on him, I think. Long hours, lots of music writing, and in the band. So she preyed on him for that, but she also had this very magical quality, and she lured him into this energy field, because Hermione has to do with, it's like the character from Harry Potter with a magic wand. So there's Neptune, there's Prey, there's Hermione, and also, again, this ties also back to her Medusa conjuncting his Venus. So she trapped him into her little web of deceit, I think. But he knew what was going on eventually, and there was a lot of abuse involved, which I will get to. His Tisiphone conjuncts her Venus 2 degrees, and Tisiphone has to do with another Greek fury. There's a lot of Greek furies in here. There's lots of anger, resentment, and punishment. So that's what he brought her punishment in this relationship. Also, I'm getting to Nessus, the abuse asteroid, and that is very strong. And I just want to go over these other aspects first, which leads up to that. His point of fortune conjuncts her Lamia, 3 degrees, and Lamia has to do with pain and suffering, and that's what he brought to her. Also, his Lamia conjuncts her IC. So behind the scenes, right at the bottom of the chart where your inner child lives, because it's the IC is at the core of the home and the family and where your roots are. So his Lamia conjuncting her IC, he brought her a lot of pain. And this was a double whammy because we have it showing up twice. Her Uranus conjuncts his Vulcanus asteroid. Her Uranus also conjuncts his Nephili, and Nephili has to do with smoke blowing, and the Vulcanus has to do with the blowing up and explosion. And there was abuse in this relationship because there are reports that he ended up choking her. He had her down on the table or on top of the hood of a car. I do remember that part. And he was choking her, and the other bandmates had to, throw him out of wherever they were. And this was something that happened, from what I've read, frequently. Just it was not one incident, which would make sense due to this next aspect. His Nessus and Ascaphalus conjuncts her North Node, 1 degree. Abuse. A lot of abuse. That whatever touches your North Node from the other person, that will be the theme of the relationship for you eventually. And in this case, abuse from him and Ascaphalus, and that has to do with rumors, talebearing, secrets, talking, gossiping. Interesting, right? Because isn't that the name of their album they won Grammy Awards for? And this is just fascinating to me. Her Tisiphone and Merlin conjuncts his North Node, 3 degrees, and his Lilith. So another Greek fury, Tisiphone. More desire to punish and revenge, and her Merlin, that has to do with, again, ties back to her Hermione. She had this magical quality, and she was able to cast a spell over this relationship, and it's conjuncting his North Node. So that's the theme of the relationship for him. There's this magical quality about her, but revenge as well. And the interesting part of this is on her North Node in her natal chart. Whatever conjuncts your North Node in your natal chart, that will be the theme of your life. One of the themes or the core of your essence or where you're going. And in this case, the asteroids that are conjuncting her North Node are Nessus, Attila, Angel, and Star. Very fascinating. So when I first saw Nessus conjuncting her North Node, I thought to myself, well, is she really that abusive? Because I have seen many charts where a person's Nessus will conjunct their North Node and they're abusive. That's one of the themes in their life. But it can be negated rarely if there's a certain asteroid on the South Node that you're comfortable with, and that is there's a couple of positive asteroids on the south node, and it could show your work, where what your work is, either counseling people in abusive relationships. But I'm getting off on a tangent. So let me go back to her north node. So her Ness is conjuncting her north node, and I thought, well, is she really that abusive? So I had to plug in a whole bunch of different asteroids, and Angel came up, Star, and Attila. So she's a star, and people see her as an angel, but she can be really rough. She's like an alpha male in a way. There's Attila there, so she's got a lot of strength, and she can be strong, and she can be abusive, but people don't see that in her because of the angel asteroid there as well. So she's like this devil or angel sort of character, and she can flip the switch and go back and forth between devil or angel quickly. Also, in her natal chart, the asteroid Magellan conjuncts her sun, 0 degrees. I was like, well, this explains it. She casts the sun, which is her, casts this very strong light on the magical qualities that she has. She waves a magic wand. She appears to be larger than life. She has a presence, and it overshadows the other negative parts of her. So that's very interesting to me. Now, I think that's all I have. I was really, I wanted to say, I know what it was. We're talking, now I'm going to go back to some planetary aspects between the two of them. Her Pluto conjuncts his ascendant, 5 degrees. And Pluto, when Pluto is conjuncting your ascendant from another person, this is the classic weak in the knees aspect. So he was like, she had this great energy, very strong and sexual, and he was like, it affected him strongly. Like I said, it's like a weak in the knees aspect. But over time, the Pluto person will want to control the ascendant person. Also, his Neptune squares her Venus, 4 degrees. This is classic for deception. Whenever I see Neptune squaring Venus in a Synastry chart, I'm like, oh gosh. Here we go again with deception and deceit. And to me, it's a guarantee, especially if there's a lot of other Neptune aspects in the relationship, which they do have. Mars conjuncting Pluto, 3 degrees. Very strong sexual connection between these two, and they're very comfortable with the scorpionic energies, and that's where the sexual chemistry comes in, but it can also represent violence as well. This is at 3 degrees, so that's pretty tight. And so that is all I have between these two. It was very fascinating to see this chart. So I hope you enjoyed the interpretation, and I will be back shortly with more Synastry charts. So hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop, and have a nice day.